Okay, we have made it to week 3 of Ravens training camp, and we have lots to discuss. From Sunday's standouts at the stadium practice to Monday's camp without Lamar, to a round of fisticuffs while holding a joint practice in preparation for Thursday.
Put 'em up, put 'em up.
In this video, we will talk about who made their presence felt and what to look for during the first game against another team in the preseason opener. We shall also discuss a problem that the Ravens may have never had in its franchise's history. But first, let's get it. We are officially 1 day away from the first game of the preseason to begin the Baltimore Ravens' 30th season in the NFL. And from what I see, the Baltimore Ravens are flying high. On Sunday, the Ravens had the first practice at M&T Bank Stadium, where it gave its rookies its first chance to play in its home stadium. They got to take in the ambiance and see what life is like at the bank, feel the aura, look around, feel the electricity, and ingratiate themselves into Baltimore Ravens culture. And when I tell you during that practice, they did not disappoint. Even though it was a scorching hot day, the Ravens were flying around the field, the rookies were doing their thing. Lamar Jackson looked sharp, throwing passes all over the field, and Keaton Mitchell was out there showing that speed that we saw from him a few seasons ago. Just being out there watching the Ravens practice, it was amazing. You look on one side, you have Lamar doing his thing. You look on the other side, you have Zay and Bate just throwing passes to one another. You start to see what this team is beginning to formulate, and I was so glad that I was there for all of it. And let me shout out my man Mike, who surprised me and made my day. Jose and I were walking into the stadium, and then somebody's just like, "Hendo, Jose," and I'm like, "Yo, who's calling me?" Like, the voice don't sound familiar. And I turned around and I'm like, "Do I know this guy?" And he just told us like, "Yo, he watches us every week." I just wanted to shout him out for making my day, making me feel special. Like, I've never had anything like that happen before, and for it to happen at Ravens Stadium made it even more special. Appreciate you for supporting both channels and everything that you guys do out there. But back to the practice. Like I said, Keaton Mitchell was just out there looking very dynamic. Malachi Stark was flying around. Mike Green. To me, I thought that Mike Green could possibly be that X factor coming out of the draft, especially the tape that I watched on him from college, thinking, small school, but you can see the athleticism, you can see the twitchiness, you can see the determination and strength, power, the skill is all there. And when I saw him on the field Sunday, my opinions have not changed. I know it's just practice, but he doesn't look like a rookie out on the field. You can see the change of power to speed, like he has it all. And I'm looking for a dominant season from Mike Green going forward. Let me tell you, this young man seems to be the real deal. Normally when they say, the Ravens got a first round pick in a certain round, I'm like, yeah, whatever. We always say that. But this may possibly be the one time that it is actually true. I am highly impressed by him. And another guy that impressed during the Sunday practice was kicker Tyler Loop. He went 11 for 11 in field goals, kicking a 60-yarder. And this is something that is good to see, being that Justin Tucker is no longer on the team. It kind of gives you a little bit more comfortability with this guy, even though it is practice. The stadium was loud, but it wasn't as loud as it could be. You're not in hostile territory, but he made all of his kicks, and that's all that you could ask of him to do. So then we move on to Monday, where Lamar Jackson was not in camp for personal reasons, and it gave Cooper Rush a chance to shine. He threw a few touchdowns. He looked sharp out there, giving us a little more comfortability that, hey, if Lamar's out, maybe he can carry the load.
Pause.
He was a little bit up and down in Sunday's practice, but I think with him getting first team reps, being with the first team offense, getting a little more acclimated to this team and the system, who's to say? I don't know. He was a cheap option. We don't really expect much out of our backup quarterbacks because hopefully Lamar Jackson is not going to go down and we will not have to depend on him. But Rush did look sharp and throw for a few touchdowns, looking like the same QB that ended the season for the Dallas Cowboys last year. And that catches us up to speed from Sunday and Monday. And now we get to Tuesday's joint practice with the Indianapolis Colts. Yes, those same Colts that used to be in Baltimore. They skipped town, sucked for a few years. Most of the fans watching today don't know anything about the Baltimore Colts. They just know the Baltimore Ravens. So good riddance to bad rubbish. And of course, with them previously being in Baltimore, it being preseason, it being a hot day, you're always going to find skirmishes. There's always going to be a fight at camp, especially when you have joint practices. Somehow, when you involve the Baltimore Ravens, we just tend to always get in fights. But for me, it was the person that got involved that was really unexpected. Now, they were doing some special teams drills, and Kenyon Martin pushed the guy, and then somehow they got pushing and shoving. And guess who runs onto the field? Nate Wiggins, of all people, one of the smallest guys, one of the leanest guys on the team, runs out and throws some punches. I wasn't expecting it, but hey, he's showing people like, listen, F around and find out. You mess with my guy, I'm coming after you.
Pause, pause, pause.
And that started a brawl, which didn't really end up being too much, but Nate Wiggins did get ejected from practice. I'm not saying that I condone the fighting, but it does show me if it goes down, we're here for it, and we're not backing down from anybody. But those fights do take away from the reps that the team needs to get better. But I ain't gonna lie, I like the chippiness. I like that we are going to stand up for one another, because there was a few seasons back where Lamar Jackson would get hit late. They would do some dirty tactics towards him, and his offensive line and his guys around just didn't do anything about it. They let teams beat up on our quarterback, and I'm like, yo, somebody fight back. And I thought that the Ravens kind of lost their edge a little bit as in the team that we used to be. But then a couple seasons ago, Travis Jones said, you know what? This ends now. And he came onto the field to show, hey, don't mess with my quarterback. So I think that this mindset, I think that this mentality is good for the Baltimore Ravens. I don't want them fighting, but I do want them to show we will not be bullied anymore. We are not going to be pushed around, because we are the Baltimore Ravens, and this is not what's going to happen. So the practice continued. Nate Wiggins is gone for throwing the first punch, apparently, allegedly. And then the Ravens got back down to business. You had Lamar out there doing Lamar type things, throwing a couple of touchdowns to Mark Andrews, just looking very efficient, looking like the MVP quarterback that he was last season. Keaton Mitchell out there being electric and dynamic, looking even faster than he did a couple of seasons ago. Don't know how that's possible, how you get injured and come back even faster, because he was blazing. And now the Ravens add another home run hitter to their backfield. Derrick Henry can take it the distance. Justice Hill can do his thing. But when you have someone like Keaton Mitchell that's a one-hitter quitter, not saying that Derrick Henry can't be, but what Keaton Mitchell is doing out there in practice is making grown men look silly. So hopefully the team can carve out a niche for him. He can find some reps somewhere during the game, and he can just continue to keep stacking. Charlie Kolar was another standout during this practice, stretching the field, catching some nice passes. But to me, the one thing that I saw during the stadium practice was he has a problem with attacking the ball. He stands there and waits for the ball to come hit him in his hands. And with Isaiah Likely being down, the Ravens are going to count on him until Likely can come back. Now, I think that these things can get better. I think that these things can be taught with more reps, being that he is second on the depth chart. He's going to get more time on the field with Lamar. Those two can build that cohesion, and he can learn, like, yo, don't just stand here and watch for the game, because you have guys that are athletic in the NFL. They can make plays, and while you're standing there waiting, they're making a play on the ball. But I did see Kolar make some catches, get down the field, and he is looking a lot better. We just need to see what he can do in actual game time. Tyler Luke went 6 for 6, holding it down, being the only kicker in camp. Overall, he has gone 57 of 61 for a 93% clip. This puts us at ease a little bit more, knowing that he can possibly be very accurate. Now, these aren't game time situations. He doesn't have the opposing crowds. It's not late and he has to go win it for us. But as of right now, he's a rookie. He's building, and hopefully he can maintain this throughout the season, because right now we don't have any other options. And once again, Mike Green stood out at practice again. Every time I'm seeing highlights, every time I'm seeing the Ravens put something up, you see Mike Green out there doing his thing. He was pushing people around during the stadium practice. He gets to the joint practice with the Colts. He's living in the backfield. He had what may have been 3 consecutive sacks on successive plays. Like, this kid is just dominant, and he looks good. But I know I have to temper expectations, because I tell you guys all the time, let's not put too much on a rookie's plate and expect them to come in and be the savior of a team. Let them progress and grow as they may. I just think that this guy is special. We know that Malachi Starks is special. He's going to do his thing. but Mike Green could be a difference maker when it comes to the Ravens and making that playoff push. And it's not just the fans, it's not just the publications. Coach Chuck Smith raves about this guy.
He can cross chop, Mike can spin, Mike can ghost. But, from that standpoint, Mike is the best example of this new generation that have learned like from the pros, and he comes in already really highly skilled up. So, give him a lot of credit. I mean, Mike is get off, just amazed that, he's in his base 2-point stance. He has no false steps. He gets off on the ball fast. So I can't say enough about Mike. So the Mike Green that we've seen so far is everything that we thought he would be, when we decided to draft him.
So the news coming out of this camp was mostly positive, but not everything was. Lamar Jackson ended the 2-minute drill. He ended the day with an interception. It happens. But more importantly, the run defense was a concern for the day. Jonathan Taylor gassed the defense for a couple of nice runs, but this is camp. This isn't a real game. Kyle Hamilton wasn't there, but the Ravens were not up to their usual standards. If there's one thing we expect the Baltimore Ravens to do, we expect them to stop the run. And this is what all of this is for, to find out your weaknesses, to put stuff on film and find out where you can get better.
Definitely got to lean more on the fundamentals. Jonathan Taylor, he was hitting those gaps real late, and sometimes when you have the B gap integrity, you think he's on the C, but he's really waiting for you to peek and see, and then he hits the B gap. So it's like, oh, okay, you need to be more gap integrity in your B gap. So I think stuff like that is good to be tested with in these joint practices, and it gets us better as a team.
So all in all, the Ravens are looking to build something special during this 2025 season. This could quite possibly be the most talented roster that Lamar Jackson has ever been a part of. I know that he said it before. I know that Roquan Smith has also said this, but just looking at everything overall, the Ravens are loaded at a lot of positions. But the biggest question to me still remains the offensive line. How are they going to hold up? Now, we know we're straight at left tackle. We know we're straight at right tackle. We know we are straight at center. Lele has lost weight. This is his second season playing right guard, so hopefully he's going to be better. But we still have to look at left guard. Everybody's high on Andrew Voorhees. Hope that he does well. But when it comes to the depth chart, John Harbaugh said that Voorhees is the leader at that position. Now, they want to have things settled. They want to find out who is going to be in the driver's seat after the preseason game. Once you start going against other teams, guys that don't know your tendencies, and see how you perform against different defenders, different techniques, different type of defenses. Now, they say Ben Cleveland is in the mix. Like, he has a fighting chance. There's an opportunity for him to become the starting left guard. I don't think that is entirely true. This job is Andrew Voorhees to lose no matter what. Even if he gets outplayed, Ravens want him to progress because he, unlike Cleveland, has another year under contract next season. So if he can become the starter, this is one position that they don't have to worry about come next season. If Ben Cleveland becomes a starter, guess what? They may have to re-sign him. And that is something I don't think that this organization really wants to do. I don't think they really wanted to re-sign him during this offseason, but slim pickings as far as price point goes. So after tomorrow night, we'll see who has the lead. We'll see if the depth chart rearranges itself, and we'll see what happens at this left guard position. Because I've always said this, the offensive line is the most important position group on the field. They protect your quarterback. This is something that we cannot play with. Now, all of these guys, all of these position groups are very important to the success of the Baltimore Ravens, but there is one position group that I am keeping my eye on. There are some battles going on that may be insignificant to some people, but you just never know. And it is the wide receiver position.
And you know this, man.
Now look, it's not what you think it is. We know who the top four are. You have Zay, you have Bateman, you have D-Hop, and Tylan Wallace. Then after that, this is where I think the competition begins. There are quietly some rumbles in the building. There are some guys that you just may not expect. There are some guys that have throughout camp been just making plays. I've watched our number one, our number two, our number three cornerbacks get burnt. I know it's just camp, and it may not mean anything. But if you are lower down on the depth chart and you're going against the first team defense and you are consistently and constantly making plays, that shows that you may have something special. Now, we don't essentially need these guys right off, but we don't want anything to happen like it did last year where guys went down and we were left stuck in the playoffs. Baltimore normally tends to keep 5, 6 wide receivers, so that leaves about 2 positions up for grab. Now we have Tez Walker, who is improving. We have Anthony Miller, who stepped up in the playoffs last year with Zay out and Bate going down on that final drive. Eaton Wade has been flashing all camp. He flashed last year. Xavier Gilroy and Keith Kirkwood are out there battling, making this decision very difficult. Then, of course, we have rookie DeJounte Wester, who is one of my favorites, one of the favorite draft picks that the Ravens made this offseason. He is in line to be the #1 punt returner on the team, but as a wide receiver, he's been making plays all throughout camp. He has a twitchiness about him. He's played in big moments, so the lights are not too bright for him. And this is an issue that may possibly have never happened in Baltimore Ravens history. They've never had an issue where they're like, yo, we have too many talented wide receivers. Who are we going to keep? We have guys that bring different skill sets to the team. There has, in the 29 years that I've watched this team, never been this many guys where the Ravens are going to have a tough decision on cutdown day who they are going to keep. Now, I know that draft picks are normally preferred for the Ravens to keep around, but when you have guys that are consistently making plays in the preseason, it's going to tell us which guys are going to rise to the top, which guys really want it. With all these talents and all these body types, the Ravens have to make the right decision, because we cannot get caught slipping again just in case somebody goes down. Until then, we will just wait for football to finally be back in Baltimore tomorrow night.
Can't wait.